Hi everyone, this is going to be my lessons that I have learned over the past year, I guess, but really kind of the last few months mostly. Things that I've maybe thought about or sort of like come to the conclusion of in the last couple months, in the last couple weeks, that maybe I kind of started learning them before I even left, but I really didn't fully realize them until recently, or maybe it's just something completely new that has just occurred to me. Some of these things maybe apply to other people too. Some of them maybe are just for my own personal journey. I want to make a small disclaimer and say this is still kind of a work in progress. You know, it's actually New Year's Eve as I'm recording this. So as I continue with this year, I'm going to continue learning, and by the end of the school year, I'll have a ton more stuff to be able to look back on and kind of assess whether I still feel the same way or not. So maybe in some ways this will be kind of a marker for how much things change for me, how much my perspective changes over the next few months, right? So maybe I'll do another one of these in June. So things may change, but right now this is kind of my state of mind, my perspective, the lessons that I feel I'm learning. The first one is that living abroad is super cool. I don't regret my decision at all. I loved my study abroad time in England. As cool as living abroad is, I don't feel like I need to live in another country again, especially on my own. You know, maybe someday if I get married and I have a family, then maybe I'll consider, you know, maybe for a little while living abroad. But I think I kind of started to realize this before, like just before I left England 7 years ago when I studied abroad. I kind of realized that I love traveling, and living abroad is fun, and you grow a lot. So I do think that it is an incredibly valuable experience, and I still highly recommend that people do it, try it, even for just a semester, for 3 months like I did. I can't even really convey how much it helps you to grow as a person. I grew so much just in the 3 months that I was in England, and I stand by that. I was hoping that this would be kind of like a sequel, which was kind of stupid of me because I was going to a different country. I know from being a teacher in the US that teaching is very different than being a student. Being an adult, it's a lot harder to meet people, especially right now, and especially in a small town, which I'm much more of a small town type of girl than a big city type of girl. But at the same time, you're going to meet fewer people living in a smaller town. Making friends as an adult is a lot harder, especially when you're not familiar with the place, and when a lot of your coworkers are just at different stages of their lives. Like a lot of teachers are married with kids, but that's not where I am in my life, and so it's hard to get together and do things together because they always have the kids to think about. And even if COVID wasn't a thing, going out to the movies or going to a bar or something like that, it would just be much harder because I had those commitments. So I think in the future, if I were to consider living abroad again, it would have to be with someone. I would love to travel abroad still on my own. Maybe somebody will come along and be interested in doing that, and I would definitely consider it if I had someone to do it with. But we'll see where I end up. But the next thing I've kind of learned is that living within a reasonable driving distance from my family is actually really important to me. You know, before I left, I was so excited. I was like, oh yeah, like when I come back, maybe I'll live like across the country. Like I want to come back to the US, but maybe I'll live in like Virginia or North Carolina, or these are some of the places that I've looked into and I've really liked. And if my parents were living there or my sister was living there or something, then I might seriously consider that. But I've kind of decided that I'll still consider those as options, but not as my first options, not as my first choices. I want to live within reasonable driving distance, like 5, 6, 7 hours max from my family. One, because I miss them, I'm close with my family, and I just want to be there. I want to be able to be there. And the other reason is that I've realized something. I think I've learned a lesson that my parents learned a long time ago, and that is that if you want to travel a lot, it's kind of ironic, but the best place to live if you want to travel a lot, not live abroad, but if you want a vacation and go to a lot of places, a lot of exotic places, and do a lot of really big adventures and vacation type things, the best place to live is actually really close to your family, because if you're not close in proximity to the people that you want to be with on holidays and birthdays and events and things like that, then you end up spending all of your time and your money going to visit them, and not on, for example, going to the Galapagos or going to Australia or something like that. That if it's between that and your family or your friends or people who you really care about, of course you're going to choose the people you care about. So I guess I've learned kind of that weird, ironic lesson that it's actually, if I'm not interested in living abroad, but I still want to travel, the best place for me to be is within driving distance of my family. So my next one is, I always tell people that I'm an introvert. I'm such a major introvert. I'm able to recharge and just be a better version of myself when I have maybe above average time alone. But I've realized that that's still true, but it's less true than I thought it was. And that's actually a more recent lesson that I've learned just in the past couple weeks, because spending Christmas break pretty much alone in my apartment, it's so easy for me to get involved on my computer, be working on my book, be working on a digital art project, or Zooming with my family. I've realized that I was slowly losing my motivation, my inspiration that I usually have when the weekends come. I think I actually get a lot of my creative energy from the people in my life. So especially my students, especially the kids, it's one of the reasons that I decided to become a teacher, is because kids have this incredible ability to use their imagination, and they're not bogged down by adult stuff. When you get to be an adult, there's so many people they're just so busy with their own lives, and it's hard for everyone to have the kind of energy that they had when they were kids. And so when I'm in the classroom, I think I get a lot of motivation and energy from the kids. When I was a teenager, I was still kind of a kid myself, and so I could kind of draw on that. I feel like I still have a fair amount of energy, considering I'm not a kid anymore. But if I don't have family or friends, like close friends who really inspire me, like I do at home, or my students, then I sort of lose steam after a little while. And so I think I've kind of discovered that, yes, I need my alone time, but I'm sort of like a cat. Like, I like to have people around. Even just a cat, honestly, would make a difference. But, you know, I'm sitting at my desk, I'm fine for hours at a time. But then all of a sudden I'll look around my room and there's no one else here. And then suddenly I feel really lonely. And I don't love that. You know, I like to have people around. I don't need to have people hovering. I don't need to be constantly interacting with people, but I do like having people around, you know. So that's my next realization lesson. I've learned that, I guess I probably already knew this, like logically it makes more sense, but I've learned that traveling is a lot more fun and interesting when you're with people that you really care about and you really love. So like my close friends and my family, I have a lot more fun on vacations with them than I do with people who I've just met. Like, not that I won't have fun with new friends, because I absolutely do, but just in general, I think I have more fun with people that I'm close to. I guess that's kind of obvious. The next one that I thought of was that Zoom calls are the best we have, and I have to say, like, if we didn't have Zoom or Skype or something like that, I don't know if I would have been brave enough to do this whole thing. So I do think that has made a huge difference, and shout out to my family for being there for me, because otherwise I would have spent Christmas 100% completely alone in my apartment, and they kind of swooped in over Zoom and were there for me during Christmas. However, it's not the same. It's not the same as being in person, and I guess I kind of realized that last year during remote teaching too. You know, I love being with the students, and you know, the silly little interactions that we have on a daily basis. You know, we're not always talking about school. You know, sometimes we're talking about Disney or Pokemon or Harry Potter, or you know, the newest movie that's just come out, and it's just fun to talk about. So I missed being in the classroom with the kids. I've thought about teaching online, like you know, a permanent remote teaching position, like teaching English as a second language or a foreign language to people online when I get back to California, or back to the US at least. And I think it would not be a good idea for me, because I really kind of need that human interaction much more than I thought I did. The next one that I thought of is I think that I've gotten to the point where I will be grateful for any job position that I am offered, but in the past, when I've interviewed for jobs, and when I've been looking for jobs, my perspective, I guess, has been that I'll be lucky if they offer me a job, and I'll take whatever they can give me. And I've gained a lot more confidence over the last few years, and it's important to sort of have that confidence and just be like, hey, I have great things to offer as a person and as a teacher, and you would be lucky to have me, as well as the other way around, I guess is all I'm saying. One of the things that's come from this year is not just from me leaving for Hungary, but my parents moving out of the house that I grew up in and into their own place. That's not really, the home that they had before was kind of mine too. I mean, it was my childhood home, and the new one, of course, isn't. So it's really kind of my parents' house, and because they're there, it's sort of home. My parents are kind of home. My sister is part of my home. All of my family is. But I've always sort of had that base, that home base that I could go back to. As much as I love exploring new places, I love traveling and seeing different cultures and seeing new things around the world. I've realized how important it is to me to have that sort of home base, that sort of anchor that pulls me back home to California, or at least to the United States, where I can go there and I just feel safe and happy and comfortable, and I can collapse on my bed and just feel like, oh, I'm home. I want to have a place like that. I want to have a physical place where I can go home to when I'm done exploring. Another one, I think I'm going to end it with this one actually. Just about friends and friendship, I tend to take things really personally, and I'm such a overly sensitive person sometimes. So I guess this is kind of a 2-in-1 sort of thing, but every person that you meet, even if you expect that you're going to be really close friends, you're going to remember, you're going to know them forever, and it's just going to continue for the rest of your lives. It doesn't have to, every friendship you have doesn't have to be like that. And, you'll know which ones, just kind of instinctively, you'll know which ones you want to last, and which ones it's okay to let fade away. The people that I've stayed in contact with, the friends that I've stayed in contact with, I really want them to keep being in my life, and to continue those friendships. But that doesn't have to be every friendship I ever have. And that you might hit it off because you have a lot in common, or because you have the same goals, or goal as someone. It doesn't mean that what's right for them, what they want, should be what you want or what's right for you. Sometimes our goals and our interests, the things that we like, it's about the reasons behind those things. It's about the reasons behind those goals, those interests. Why do you like the things that you like? Why do you want to achieve this goal? And sometimes the goal on the surface might be the same, but the reasons underneath maybe aren't. And you have to realize that you have stuff in common with these people, and you can relate to them with that, but that doesn't mean that your decisions and your next goals and the things that you like and dislike are going to be the same, and they shouldn't be the same, right? Because you're on your own path. They're on theirs, you're on yours, and it's easy, I think, to forget, especially when you meet someone and you're so excited because you have this thing in common. The people who you become closest with, I think, might be the people who not only like the same things or have the same goals, but have them for the same reasons that you do. So a lot that I've learned over the past several months. 2020, I think, has been a year of learning for everyone, and I'm really grateful. I'll be happy to go home. I won't lie, I'll be happy to go home, but I think it's really important to reflect on the things that we've learned and use those things in the future, you know, as we keep going. So those are my lessons, and I look forward to seeing how these things change, what shifts, what readjusts by June, when I'm getting ready to leave. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking it out. If you're still watching to at this point, I'm very grateful, because I tend to ramble. So thank you all, and I will see you in my next video.